are you saving as much as you can? But when you do the math, you think there's no way I'm going to have anywhere close to $1 million by the time I retire, whether that's in 6 months, 6 years, or if it's a decade or more away. If so, this video is for you. I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years, the gold standard in my industry. There's a lot of talk about you need to have $1 million in order to have a comfortable retirement. And I'm calling bunk on that. And I'm going to share with you some information why I'm calling bunk on that. And then I'm going to go through what does the average person actually have when it comes time to retire? What does that retirement look like? And then finally, I'll close this video sharing what are some things you can do if you want to save more, if you want to maximize that account balance in whatever years you have. So let's jump in. The first article I want to share with you is by Andrew Biggs, and he's a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. He wrote an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal that's titled, "You Don't Need to Be a Millionaire to Retire." And then he goes on to say, among seniors with $50,000 to $100,000 in savings, almost 90%, 86%, said that they were doing okay or living comfortably. Mr. Biggs opens his article with a survey by Northwestern Mutual that says that the average American feels that they're going to need almost $1.5 million to retire comfortably, but that the average U.S. adult has less than $100,000, $88,400. But then he goes on to say that the Federal Reserve, in their survey of consumer finance, actually asked people, what's your retirement feel like? Are you comfortable? Do you feel you're sacrificing? And among the respondents of that survey that were 65 to 74 years old, between 2019 and 2022, 3%, just 3% said that they were finding it difficult to get by, and 12% said they were just getting by. So that's the 15% that are feeling sacrificial, but 37% said they were doing okay, and almost half, 49%, said that they were living comfortably. And he goes on to say that only 19% of retirees report having less than $10,000 in savings, which goes on to, there's a political debate going on about how much people do have for savings. But if you look at them, again, they're reporting that they're doing okay or living comfortably. And then he goes on to explain why that might be. First, Social Security, he argues that the average couple retiring in 2022 received total annual benefits of nearly $46,000, and that's up from about $34,600, he argues, in today's dollars in 2000. And while that's hardly extravagant, he says that, that makes a big dent into giving folks a comfortable retirement. So if you have less than $1 million, know that you have good company and there's people retiring and having a comfortable retirement. But let's jump in now and look at how many people really have $1 million to retire and what does the average person have. So if you look at $0 to $10,000, it's just about 60% of Americans have $10,000 or less saved for retirement. From $10,000 to $100,000, that's another 20%. From $100,000 to $500,000, that's another 14%. Okay, $500,000 to $1 million, which is kind of the ballpark that would be good to be in for a comfortable retirement above and beyond Social Security. $500,000 to $1 million, that's only 4%. And what percent of Americans have $1 million saved for retirement? It's only 3.1%. And then if you add in the people that have 5 million or more, it's another 1/10 of 1%. So what percent of people have over $1 million in their retirement accounts? It's 3.2% in total. But that's total Americans. What about by age? Let's go back to the Federal Reserve. Let's go to their survey of consumer finance and look at the results of people that are under 35 years old. The median net worth, and net worth is just the value of all your assets, your bank accounts, importantly, your home, and the value of any other asset. For most of us, it would be our car, less any liabilities, which would be our mortgage. So essentially think of your net worth for most of us is going to be the value of our bank accounts, the value of our retirement accounts, and any home equity that we may or may not have. So people under 35 years old, The median net worth is $39,000. 35 to 44, it's a little under $136,000. 45 to 54, it's a little under $250,000. 55 to 64, it's a little under $365,000. And it actually continues to go up, right? So this is the retirement age for net worth. The 55 to 64-year-old, as they're approaching retirement, has a little under $365,000. And for 65 to 74, it actually continues to go up. And we see this commonly in retirement, when you first retire, the value of your assets go up, and then eventually the spending and inflation component of increasing your spending starts driving down your net worth. So it tops out at about $410,000, and then for people 75 plus, it's $335,000. So very, very few Americans, 3.2%, have over $1 million saved for retirement. And the median number is actually quite a bit less, even if you look at net worth, which is above the IRAs, the 401k, those retirement accounts. The median person is between $365,000 and $410,000. So if you're in that ballpark and you're beating yourself up, I want you to stop beating yourself up, because otherwise 97% of us would be beating ourselves up. And Andrew Biggs' article talks about what does it look like? What do seniors report retirement looking like? And they're not eating cat food and dog food. They're not sacrificing extremely. They're reporting having a comfortable retirement. So according to, let me share one other thing before I go into this study. According to a study by BlackRock, which is the world's largest asset manager, they surveyed their clients. And a majority of those folks, 18 years into retirement, still had the value of the assets that they retired with or more. So the reality is most of us are not going to spend down most of those assets. But I think a fair question is, how much money will I need in retirement? And I think a group called Dimensional Fund Advisors did an excellent study. It was by two PhDs, Massey DeSantis and Marlena Lee, and they did some work where they looked at what is the replacement rate that you're going to need. Now, this study is older. It's 2013, but they broke out the percentage of income that you're going to want to have replacement income based on quartiles. Are you a lower quartile earner? Are you in the middle are you an average earner? Or are you in the top quartile? Where are you at? And then what's the replacement income needed? And I think this study is super interesting. The actual dollar numbers are almost comical now, but the lower quartile, the middle quartile, et cetera, is relevant. So if you're in the lower 25%, what they found is people need 82% of their pre-retirement income in retirement. And almost 60% of that is going to come from Social Security. And the rest, 23%, is going to come from your personal savings. So that's why if you're far from the mark, you can still be okay, because only a fourth of the money that you're going to spend in retirement is likely going to come, according to this study, is going to come from your retirement savings. Now, if you're in the 25th to 50th percentile, so you're still in the lower half, but you're above the lower quartile, what they found is you're going to need about 72% of your pre-retirement income in retirement. And it's split almost 50-50. Half of that's going to come from your savings and half from Social Security. Actually, a little more from Social Security, 38 percentage point from Social Security, 34% from your personal savings. And then if you're between the median, half the people, and the 75th percentile, so you're not in the top quartile, but you're the quartile below that, here it is split evenly, 31% and 31%. So you're going to need 62% of your pre-retirement income. Half of that's going to come from your savings. Half of that will come from Social Security. And why does this change? Well, as people make more money, they have lifestyle creep. They get used to spending a little bit more. And so they need more money, but Social Security tops out at a certain level. Okay, and what about if you're in the top quartile of earnings? What they found is folks folks are going to need about 58% of their pre-retirement income. And the majority of that, 37 percentage points of the 58, are going to come from your retirement savings. The rest, 21 percentage points, is going to come from Social Security. So what do you do if you're looking at the numbers and saying, okay, I'm doing better than average, but I want to do much better than average. I want to make up ground. Well, first, I'm a fan of the book by Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And Covey says, begin with the end in mind. So what's kind of the gold standard? What should you have? I said earlier, $1 million should not, in my opinion, be the gold standard. But I think Fidelity has a good rule of thumb here. And they talk about by age. So whether you're 30 years old or you're 67 years old, there's something in this chart for you. How much, based on a multiple of your income, should you have saved? So at 30 years old, you're just starting off. Fidelity says you should have 1 time your income saved. At 35, they say you should have 2 times. At 40, you should have 3 times your income saved. 45, 4 times. So let's put some math to this. And at 50, it's 6 times. Let's say, just for easy math for me, you're making $50,000 a year. So Fidelity would say, by the time you're 50, you should have $300,000 saved, 6 times your income, which is pretty close to those numbers that we saw from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finance. 364,000 is what I believe it was 55 to 64-year-olds have. So at 55, you should have 7 times your salary saved. At 60, you should have 8 times. And at 67, you should have 10 times. And Fidelity says if you can do that, you're likely going to have a comfortable retirement. So I think that's a better ballpark, is look at what your income is, look at a multiple of your income. I'm not saying Fidelity's right, and it's hard to save. You do the best that you can. I did share that I want to share with you what you can do to catch up if you're not there yet, if you want to save more. You know, many of us have been taught that if we save 10% of what we earn, that we're going to be fine. So let's say, we put 4% on our 401k. And then outside of our 401k, we save another 6%. Well, hopefully the company is matching 4% onto our 4%, or maybe they do 2%. But I just want you to focus on the dollars that you save. And I think if we can, and I know it's aspirational, but if we can shoot to save 20% as opposed to 10%, we'll be in a much better position when it comes time to retire. Our future self will thank us. So there's 2 ways to get there if you're not saving as much as what you'd like. The first way takes some time, but it's a lot easier for most people. And that is, every year when you get a raise, every year if you get a promotion, every year if you get a bonus, a larger bonus than the year before, half of that increase in income goes to your future self. And half of that goes to your current self. And you think about it, if you start this when you're a college student, when you're making nothing, and then you get your first job, let's say it's paying $50,000. Well, you were used to living on nothing. Could you live on a lot less than that? You probably could, but most of us aren't college students anymore, right? So let's say we're making $75,000 and we get a $10,000 raise at work. Good for you. That's a nice raise. After taxes, that's $8,000. So half of that goes to current you that you can use to fund the things you enjoy doing. And half of that goes to future years. So $4,000 current you, $4,000 increase your retirement savings. And over time, you're going to incrementally increase how much money that you save. And so that's the slow way. The fast way is what I like to call the 50-30-20 rule. And under that, we look at our needs, things like our rent, our utilities, gasoline for our car, groceries, our needs. We look at our needs and we say, can we get that to 50% or less of our after-tax pay? And if we can do that, and then we can keep our wants, things like going out to eat, things like taking a nice vacation, things like the cardboard boxes that show up at our houses, if we can keep that to 30% or less, so we 50% on our needs, 30% on our wants, and that leaves 20% to go into savings. And, I encourage you to test drive that. Maybe for 30 days. Most of us can do anything for 30 days. Maybe for 100 days. Give yourself a 100-day challenge. See if you can do it. And if you found this video interesting, I think you'll also find not just what the average person has for retirement, but what the average income for retirees looks like in America. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.